All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Tracy Fitzpatrick, and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Netcom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We're very excited to host today's webinar, How to Design and Implement a Successful Enterprise Cloud Strategy. And presenting today's topic is Julio Cruz. Julio is a total technology geek. With more than 18 years in the IT field, Julio has worked in a variety of roles from software tester to IT director. Julio's training experience includes working as a Microsoft community leader for over 7 years, university professor for 6, and a Microsoft certified trainer for nearly 4 years. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We do offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored towards your specific requirements. If you are interested in a further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session is also being recorded, so you will get free access to the recordings in the next 24 hours via email. And now I'd like to invite the Senior Director of Corporate Learning here at Netcom Learning, Daniel Yun, who will be discussing some values and important items. Daniel, go ahead.
Thank you, Tracy. Netcom Learning has been helping customers building innovative learning and adapting to change and driving growth. And we do this with a broad catalog of our offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. Currently, we have 9 practice areas in which we specialize. They encompass people, process, and technology training. And today's presentation is from the cloud practice area. Netcom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio for Microsoft Azure training courses. And here are some of our upcoming classes on our public schedules. Those are Developing Microsoft Azure Solutions, course number 20532. And the next class will be on February 26, coming up very soon. The next class is Implementing Microsoft Azure Infrastructure Solutions, course number 20533. The next class will be on March 5th. The next class is Configuring and Operating a Hybrid Cloud with a Microsoft Azure Stack, course number 20537. And the next class will be on March 12th. In addition to that, we have a Microsoft Azure Fundamentals class starting April 9. That's going to be course number 10979. Also, we can deliver a private training to the teams that learning plan can be customized to the specific needs of the audience. So these offerings can be found with a simple search on our website, netcomlearning.com. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for all that great information. So, why should you all want to attend this webinar today? Many organizations recognize the need of cloud services to stay competitive, drive innovation, and create agility across their business. With this webinar, you'll learn how to build and implement an enterprise cloud-first strategy to consume cloud services at scale. And now I'd like to give you a quick overview of the logistics before we get started. To begin with, you do have the option to adjust the window size to your liking. Simply hit the Escape key and find the Zoom button on the top left corner of your GoToWebinar viewer. Everyone has been muted except for our presenters. Please feel free to submit any questions you do have for the presenters here in the questions pane, and we will address them at the end of the session. A PDF copy of today's slides are also in the handout section of your GoToWebinar viewer. And finally, in just a few moments, I'm going to pass this off to Julio, who will be presenting today's topic. Julio, go ahead, you are live.
Thank you very much, Tracy, and thank you for joining us, guys, in our today's webinar. Let me share my screen with you, and I'm going to launch the PowerPoint presentation. So today we're going to see the cloud strategy and how to implement that in your organization. But first, we need to remember a little bit the past when we used to have our users, our devices, applications, and data, which are the most important things in our organization. We used to have all of them in just one single place. That is, it was our on-premise environment, our building, for example, and it was very easy to protect these users, devices, applications, and data, because it was just a matter of having the right firewall, the right IPS, IDS, maybe a DDoS, denial of service, etc. So it was very easy to work with them, to manage, to control, to protect. Okay, what happened in that scenario? Well, we used to have Azure, we used to have Active Directory, the local Active Directory, all our computers, let's say that all of them were desktops or laptops, that all of them were domain joined. So it was very easy for us to manage these devices using group policy. Okay, and for medium to large organizations, well, we can use System Center Configuration Manager. Okay, so that is in our old days. Okay, I know that there are many organizations that they are to start working with the cloud. So what is our scenario today? Well, the first thing is that the users need to access to cloud applications, like, for example, Office 365, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Dropbox, etc. So we have a lot of cloud applications that the users need to access to them. So now it's not enough to protect our local environment, because we need those users to go outside to consume information in the cloud, and maybe to store the information in the cloud. For example, in Office 365, we don't have our email on-prem. Our emails are in Office 365, the same for SharePoint. So that's the first challenge, to have access to these cloud applications. The next challenge is that the same user want to have access to these cloud applications using multiple devices. So now it's not only to have a desktop or a laptop, but now we have tablets, we have smartphones, we even have smartwatches. So the challenge becomes more interesting, because now we need to allow the user to have access to these multiple applications from multiple devices. If that is not enough for you, we have different social identities. So the same user can have a different identity or user and password for his corporate account, for LinkedIn, for Facebook, Instagram, etc. Okay, and they want to work with all of these things from the same or from multiple devices and accessing multiple applications. So now our scenario is something like this, that we need to work with these different devices, different identities, everything in the cloud, and also the user want to have access to our on-prem information. For example, maybe you have your CRM, your ERP on-prem, and your database is on-prem, and the user need to access to those applications on-prem. Okay, that is our scenario. More than that, sometimes we have customers that they don't have a technology strategy, so they keep using the same old devices. I have customers that they have computers, laptops, and desktops for more than 6 years, okay, believe it or not. Or they don't have a strategy because maybe they are maybe they have only one how do you say, only one technology, or they have multiple technologies without a clear understanding on how to use them. For example, for the MDM, maybe they have Dropbox, they have a Mobile Iron, they have AirWatch, they have Intune. Okay, of course they have legacy systems, different operating systems, different servers. So that's a problem if you don't have the right strategy. Both on-prem but also in the cloud. It's difficult to move to the cloud if you don't have the right technology. And I'm not going to focus on the Microsoft products. I'm just using the Microsoft solutions to make this analogy between the on-prem and the cloud, and how can you design your cloud strategy. Okay, and because it's easier for us to understand the on-prem environment using the Windows applications and products, and then to make that analogy with the cloud. But everything that I'm going to tell you applies for any cloud strategy that you may apply, for example, for AWS, for Google Cloud, etc. So more than that, if you ask to your customers or to your end users, they struggle because they need to remember different passwords. For security reasons, you apply complex passwords, you know, capital letters, lower letters, special characters, etc. So they really struggle with these, and you receive a lot of phone calls in your help desk because of this. Now, the idea is to move from a totally on-prem environment to a cloud environment, or maybe if you are not thinking on moving everything to the cloud, well, at least you can have a hybrid environment, which Microsoft calls this modern IT or a modern IT environment. Okay, it's difficult for an organization to move everything to the cloud because maybe they don't know the cloud, maybe they don't understand the cloud very well, maybe they don't trust the cloud. Okay, by the way, we have Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, says that for businesses and users that are going to embrace technology only if they can trust it. This is a huge statement, because when are you going to trust something? It's kind of difficult to have 100% of trust in something. But you can start working with some things in order to test the cloud. Now, when we say about the cloud, the first thing that we need to know is the different types of cloud that we have, the different options that we have. And for the clouds, we have the public cloud. This is cloud only. Let's say that you are going to work only with Azure, Microsoft Azure, or you are going to work only with AWS, or you are going to work only with Google Cloud. Okay, so it's everything in the cloud, and this is public. You can have a private cloud. For example, if you have the right technology, Daniel told us about Azure Stack. So Azure Stack is a technology that allows you to have the same Azure, well, not exactly the same, but some of the Azure features in your on-prem environment. Okay, so you can provide this private cloud to your users. And of course, we have the hybrid cloud, and the hybrid cloud will allow you to have a mix, okay, between your public and your private cloud. So you can have some, let's say, some virtual machines or some workloads in your on-prem environment, and you can have other workloads in the public cloud, and you can communicate all of them. Now, of course, again, Microsoft has all the solutions that can help you, but it's not only Microsoft. There are other technologies that can help you. The most important thing is for you to understand the actual technology that you have on-prem, and try to have an analogy, or try to have a parallel or a mirror in the cloud. If you don't know the technology that you own right now, and if you don't know the options that you have in the cloud, it's very difficult to make that change. And trust me, I know about this because I spent 12 years in the bank working with on-prem environment, and I faced the need to change to the cloud and to design this strategy. So the first thing in your plan must be to know very well your current technology, and to know the different options that you have. Microsoft, it can be AWS, Google Cloud, or maybe Oracle, HP, IBM, any cloud that you prefer, or that you have a vendor that can help you with that. Now, for most of the cloud services that we have in the market, they they have more or less features, but all of them have these ones. The compute, where you can have your virtual machines, mainly, and cloud services. Networking, where you can have virtual networks, DNS, traffic managers, load balancers. Okay, data, where you can store information in the cloud. Okay, and of course you can have Azure SQL database to store, not only to have blobs to upload information, but to have databases in the cloud. Again, all of them has options for web applications and mobile applications that you can also bring them to the cloud. And some of them have other solutions, other services like automation, like machine learning, Internet of Things, that they are becoming very, very popular in nowadays. Okay, so again, it will depend on your business needs. It will depend on your business strategy and your technology strategy. You need to think on the different options that you have. Now, I always receive this question: can I move everything to the cloud? Well, the answer is yes, but the next question will be, should I move everything to the cloud? Well, maybe the answer is no, or at least not in just one single step. Okay, you need to plan to migrate your workloads to the cloud. And the first step is to move from the physical servers to a virtual machine environment. So if you still have physical servers, well, maybe it's a good time for you to start thinking on how to move or migrate these physical servers into virtual machines. And there are some tools in the market that will help you to make this physical to virtual. VMware has a solution for that. Microsoft has a Hyper-V Manager that can help you to make this physical to virtual conversion. Once you are in a virtual environment, then the next step is to start moving those virtual machines to the cloud. Okay, and it's easier to move these virtual machines to the cloud because you just need to move your BHD files to the cloud. In this case, for example, to move BHD files from Hyper-V on-prem to Azure in the cloud. Talking about Microsoft technologies. Now, as I said, it's difficult to move everything in just one single step. You need to plan for that, and to do, or to help you with that, you have different options for your workloads. First, you have the software as a service. So, for example, if you have an Exchange server on-prem or a SharePoint server on-prem, well, you can think on software as a service and migrate to Office 365. Office 365 is a software as a service. That's an option. Okay, for your emails, migrating your Exchange on-prem to Exchange Online, SharePoint on-prem, SharePoint to SharePoint Online, Skype for Business on-prem to Skype for Business Online, or moving your PBX again to the cloud. That's something that you can use. And that is software as a service. The same for your CRM. Maybe you have an old CRM solution on-prem. You can migrate that to Dynamics 365 in the cloud, or any other cloud application that we have software as a service. Now, if you don't want to move to software as a service, you have the platform as a service. The platform as a service is going to give you more control on your applications. So, for example, you can bring an e-commerce website to the cloud in a platform as a service, and then you are going to have your front-end server and your web services in a platform as a service, but you are going to have maybe your database on-prem in a hybrid environment. Or maybe you can bring some SQL Server databases that you have on-prem, you can bring them to an Azure SQL Server in the cloud. So that is a platform as a service. And finally, of course, the easiest way to move to the cloud from an IT perspective is to use the infrastructure as a service, because you have full control on your services. So you can bring your virtual machines, or you can create new virtual machines in the infrastructure as a service. And well, for the IT guys, and if we forget about the hardware, but if we focus on the people, well, we need these people that are going to be in charge of this migration, or are going to be in charge of managing this cloud strategy. They need to know how to work with the cloud. So if you start in an infrastructure as a service, you are going to see that these people is going to feel more comfortable. Okay, but again, it's not the only option. You can start for an infrastructure as a service, or a platform as a service, or you can go directly to a software as a service. You have all these options. Okay. And again, as we said, you can have a mix or a hybrid cloud to have some workloads in the cloud and some other workloads on-prem. Now, to have a hybrid environment, you can have virtual networks. Okay, and in this case, for virtual networks, well, you know that the first thing is to know where are you going to have your virtual networks. For example, it's not a good idea to, if you are, for example, I live in Arizona, it's not a good idea to, if I live in Arizona, to have a virtual network maybe in the East Coast, or maybe in Europe or Asia. Okay, it's not a good idea, because I'm going to have more latency when I want to connect with my resources. So instead of having these regions, well, I can look for a West region, maybe in California, or any other data center in the West Coast. Okay, because it's near to me. Okay, Arizona is close to Cali. Okay, the same if you are in Europe. Well, it's not a good idea to have your data center in the US or in Brazil or maybe in Asia. You have data centers in Europe that you are going to be closer to you, and you are going to have less latency. So that's the first thing, to know where you want to put your information. And another thing is compliance. Okay, maybe you have some regulations that says that you cannot have your information outside a region. For example, in this year, in May, is going to be enforced the GDPR in Europe. Okay, so maybe those countries or the customers that lives in Europe, they are not going to be able to have their information outside the European community. Okay, they must have their information in Europe, in the European Union. So that's why it's important to plan the region that you are going to use. And you can have multiple regions, and you can have virtual networks and connectivity between your virtual networks. For example, in Azure, we have something that is called VNet to VNet, to connect two different virtual networks, and they can be in different regions, even in different countries. Okay. Another thing is that if you are going to have a hybrid environment, you can have a site-to-site or an express route environment. For example, in a site-to-site, well, it's having a VPN, okay, between your hybrid cloud and between your public cloud and your on-prem environment. Or an express route, if you are using MPLS, for example, to connect your local data center to Azure. Or you can even have a point-to-site if you have roaming users that they need to connect to some applications that you have in the cloud. Well, you can also have a point-to-site. So this is very important to plan, to design how are you going to connect your virtual network. Okay? And one of the most common mistakes is that you have a duplicate IP address range in your local network and in the cloud. So I don't know, maybe you want to have a 192.168.0.0, and you have that range in the on-prem, and you also have that range in the cloud. Well, you are not going to be able to connect those, the two networks because they have the same address. Another thing that you need to plan is your web applications. If you want to move your web applications to the cloud using infrastructure as a service, or if you are going to use platform as a service. Okay, if you are going to leave your database on-prem, or if you are going to move your database to the cloud. So, and to move the database to the cloud, you have also two different options. One is to migrate all the database with all the data to the cloud. Another option is to just create a SQL script that you can run in the cloud, and that is going to create or or build your database in the cloud. Okay, you have those two options, but again, you need to plan, for example, for the bandwidth. If you are going to migrate the whole database with all the data, imagine if you have a database, for example, when I was in the bank, one of the largest databases that we have was like around 200 gigabytes. Okay, so imagine moving 200 gigs through the one connection. Well, you must have a very good one connection, and in order to migrate that information from your on-prem to the cloud. So be careful. And Microsoft has some options for you to migrate this data. Okay. Another step that you can plan for and that you can use to start moving things to the cloud is to use Azure Backup and Site Recovery. Most of the organization has backups, right? And most of them have backups on tapes, on disks. Well, you can use Azure Backup, or you can use any other vendor for cloud services to store your backups in the cloud. Okay, so that's one of the first steps that you may take to start using the cloud. Okay, if you are not having backups in the cloud today, well, you are losing a very good opportunity. I recommend you to take a look on Azure Backup. And you can back up everything, all your servers, folders, databases, etc. You can back up everything in the cloud. And you can also use a site recovery. Some organizations, they have some regulations that requires to have a secondary site for business continuity and disaster recovery. Well, you can use the Azure Site Recovery to have this secondary site in the cloud. So your primary site is going to be your on-prem environment, but you can have a secondary site that it can be cold or hot. I mean, as soon as you have an issue, you can start using that, or you can start that manually. So those are some of the things that you can start using for a cloud strategy. Okay, again, you need to start planning, designing your strategy to move to the cloud, which workloads you want to move, etc. Now, this is not only about infrastructure, so it's not only about virtual machines and databases and virtual networks, etc. But we also have, as part of the modern IT, we also have some things to think about, like the devices. Okay, how are you going to manage your devices? Because remember that we said that today we don't have desktops and laptops living only in our local network. We have users working anywhere from their home, from the hotel, from I don't know, from a convention center. So we have devices everywhere. So one of the first things is that if you use, of course, Windows 10, and this is more Microsoft, well, you can use the mobile device management. Okay, and we have some advantages if you use Windows 10 with mobile device management. The most important thing is that you can apply two things: the group policy, but also the MDM. Okay, so you can have, in a hybrid environment, you can control your Windows 10 device, because the Windows 10 device can be domain joined, and it can also be cloud only, or it can be both, okay, domain joined and cloud. So you can apply, or you can still work with your group policies. This is one of the main stoppers, okay, the main stoppers when you want to move to the cloud. The group policies is one of the main stoppers, because maybe you have some group policies that apply to your devices, and you don't want to lose that level of control. Well, the good news is, first, if you work with Windows 10, you can have both worlds together. Or if you are planning to move everything to the cloud, you can apply the MDM policy to those devices. And for example, if you use Intune, Microsoft Intune, you can apply those MDM policies to any platform: iOS, Mac, Android, Windows Phone, etc. Okay, so very, very useful to apply these MDM policies. Now, if we remember that now we have a mix of devices, well, you can have all of them. So you can have your company-owned devices, and you can have them domain join or Azure Active Directory join. So that means the cloud. Okay. Or you can use the bring your own device that is personal owned, but you can also use Azure Active Directory, and this is in the cloud. Okay, you can still work with group policies, but you can also use MDM such as Intune or any other third-party MDMs. Okay, and you can also specify the security baselines and desired state configuration. So again, you don't need to forget what you already have, but you can bring that functionality to the cloud. But the first thing in your strategy is to think if you need that or not. I can tell you as a consultant, I have seen many customers that they have group policies, but no one maintains those group policies. No one knows about those group policies. So maybe I can think, do you really need those group policies? If the answer is no, well, you don't need to worry about that. You can move to the cloud and apply MDM policies that maybe there are going to be fresh policies and they are going to really apply to your devices. Okay. For the MDM policies, well, you can apply configuration policies, you can apply device compliance policies, conditional access. This is very interesting. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about compliance, conditional access, corporate device enrollment. So we have a lot of options when you work with Intune. In this case, with Intune, but if you use any other MDM. It's really important when you think on the cloud, it's really important that you have an MDM. If you don't have an MDM, you don't have control on your devices, and you will have a problem, a mess, and it's difficult to support your users without an MDM. So it's important. Now, the good thing if you use Intune is that you can manage all your devices, not only Windows, but also iOS and Androids. Or you can also integrate, if you are in a medium to large organization, you can also integrate Intune with System Center Configuration Manager. So it's also a very common question that I have from medium to large customers, that they say, I already have System Center Configuration Manager. Should I move everything to the cloud, or do I need to delete all that I have and start using Intune? The answer is no. You can integrate Intune with Configuration Manager, and then you can keep managing your local desktop, for example, from Configuration Manager, and your mobile devices from Intune. Okay, and you are going to manage everything from just one single console, that is Configuration Manager. So very, very useful. Now, remember, we said it's not only about infrastructure. We already discussed about infrastructure, virtual machines, and virtual network, etc. It's not only about devices, okay? So we discussed about the MDM and how to work with the devices with Windows 10. But also, we have the possibility to manage the applications, okay? So the first thing is, which applications do we have right now on-prem? Which applications are we going to move to the cloud? And which applications we want to manage from the cloud? And when you answer all these questions, then you can have a mobile application management to manage your device, your applications. In this case, talking about Intune, Intune is an MDM, a mobile device management, but it's also a mobile application manager. So in one single product, you have the two functionalities. Maybe if you use other MDMs, well, maybe you can have Mobile Iron, you can use AirWatch, you can use other MDMs and MAMs, okay, if you already have them. But the most important thing is which applications you want to manage, if they are supported by the mobile application manager or not, or if you need to maybe to recompile or rebuild your mobile application. Okay, if you use Windows 10, again talking about Microsoft technologies, if you use Windows 10, the mobile application manager is supported, so you can have in Windows 10 the whole control of your Windows 10 session. Okay, maybe to separate the corporate information from the end user's information. That's something that you can do if you have Windows 10. Now, remember that we said that we have this hybrid environment. Well, with Microsoft, you can have both worlds in a ceaseless deployment. So the users, now again, talking about the server admin or the service administrator, they don't need to learn a new language. They don't need to start from scratch. I have some IT administrators that they have more than 30 years of experience, and they say, I'm afraid of moving to the cloud because I know exactly what to do in my on-prem environment, and I don't know if I'm going to be capable to manage everything in the cloud. Well, two things. The first thing is that the cloud is very similar as the on-prem environment if you use Microsoft Azure. Of course, the other clouds are also not that difficult to manage. And the other thing is that you have training with Netcom. Okay, with Netcom, we can train you on these new technologies, and you are going to learn how easy it is to manage the cloud. Okay. So, but the idea is to have this hybrid environment and to make the users comfortable. That's the most important part, that the end users are comfortable using the applications, but also the IT guys feel comfortable managing the new environment and the hybrid environment. Okay, so remember this slide when we have multiple users using multiple identities, accessing from multiple devices. Well, you can put everything together, in this case in Azure Active Directory, and then you are going to have control on all your applications and devices and everything. So from just one single user and password, that is Azure Active Directory, you can manage everything: applications, devices, user identities, etc. Now, some people ask me, well, I know that there are some features in Azure Active Directory if I have Office 365. Okay, and another question that I receive very often is that how can I protect this Azure Active Directory identity? How can I protect it? Because now it will become a single point of failure, right? Well, the first to answer the first question, yes, you have Azure AD for free when you have Office 365, but you don't have all the features, all the functionality for Azure Active Directory. Okay, you have some basic features, of course, like directory services, single sign-on, etc., self-service password. But for example, you don't have some features like a self-service group manager or a group-based access manager provisioning. Okay, or maybe if you require multi-factor authentication, well, maybe that's something that you are not going to have in a free Azure AD, but you will need to have an Azure AD Premium. Okay. Again, when you plan for this and when you need to think what options you need to enable in your cloud solution, you need to take a look on all these things if you need them or not. Because of course the Azure AD is free if you have Office 365 or if you have Intune. It's free. Both Office 365 and Intune resides or they use Azure Active Directory. But if you need more functionality, then you will need to have Azure AD Premium. Okay, important. Now, to protect your Azure AD account, you have something that is called conditional access, and not only to protect the account, but also to protect the applications and the sessions. So you are going to ask or you are going to configure in conditional access, for example, which user is trying to access which application from which device, is it a managed device or not, if it is if the device is healthy, for example, if it has the latest virus definition list, etc. Okay, and you are going to assign a user risk and a session risk. Okay, it's not the same risk when you have a user, okay, that let's say that it's a user, let's say Julio Cruz, is trying to access the CRM application from a corporate device. Okay, so that's one scenario. So maybe the user risk is low because it's a known user. It's not an anonymous. It's a known user. It's Julio Cruz. Is trying to access from a managed device, and is trying to access a corporate from the corporate network. So the session risk can be low, okay, because of that. Now let's put another example. Let's say that is the same user, is Julio Cruz. It's a known user, so maybe my user risk is low, but I am trying to access the CRM application from my home network, not from the corporate network, but from my home network. Then maybe my session risk can be medium. Okay, it is not low anymore, but now is medium. So if that is the case, well, I can, for example, allow access for user risk low, session risk low, but for user risk low and a session risk medium, maybe I'm going to require multi-factor authentication. Okay, I need the user to receive a text message or a phone call to authenticate himself. Okay, but and then what happens if the same user, Julio Cruz, is trying to access the same application, but not from the corporate device and not from the corporate network? Well, that is a session risk high, and maybe I'm going to limit the access to read only. For example, instead of having my full permissions, maybe I'm going to have limit access, because I'm not accessing the CRM from the corporate device and from the corporate network. And if I I'm trying to use an anonymous access to the CRM from an unmanaged device, from an unmanaged network, well, I can deny the access. Okay, so that's the way that you can protect the same user and the same session from different scenarios using conditional access. Okay, now remember, just as a summary, if you work with Windows, you can have domain joined computers, you can have Azure AD joined computers, or you can have the work account if you don't have domain join. Okay, this domain join and Azure AD join is for company-owned devices. For bring your own device, you are going to use the add work account, but it's the same as an Azure AD join. Okay, the only thing is that it's going to be in a bring your own device. And remember, for your strategy, when you are planning or designing your strategy, you are going to move from the traditional on-prem to the modern management. But more than that, you are going to have the two options. So you are going to still have Active Directory and Azure Active Directory in a hybrid environment. You are going to still have the option of group policies and using MDMs or System Center Configuration Manager. For your updates, is critical if you are going to deploy your updates from a WSUS on-prem, or if you are going to deploy your updates using Intune, for example, in the cloud. This is something that you need to plan also and design your solution for that. Because again, it's not the same. Imagine that you want to deploy updates to mobile devices that they are not in your network, but you download the updates to your WSUS and then you deploy the updates from your WSUS. So you are consuming double bandwidth, first for download the updates and then to deploy the updates. So it doesn't make sense. Instead of doing that, you can configure to deploy the updates for the mobile devices from Intune, for example, that is a cloud solution, and then you are not going to consume your bandwidth because the user, or well, in this case, the device is going to connect directly to Intune, and Intune is going to deploy the updates directly from the cloud. And this is, for example, Microsoft Cloud. So you are not going to consume your own bandwidth in your on-prem, okay? And the infrastructure, well, we discussed that you need to be aware of your firewall, your networks, how are you going to connect your solutions. For example, when I was in the bank, we have a restriction that we use some security technology that is Checkpoint. We use Checkpoint to protect our on-prem environment. And one of the limitations, or one of the conditions that our security department ask us to deploy is to use the same checkpoint security in the cloud. So what we did is we deploy a virtual machine in the cloud. In this case was Azure. We deploy a virtual machine with a checkpoint security firewall, and then we connect our on-prem firewall with the cloud firewall to make our VPN connection, and then we comply with the security department request, and we were able to bring some things to the cloud. So that's an example of infrastructure that you need to plan for that. Okay. So remember for your cloud strategy is to move from physical servers to virtual machines. Then your virtual machines, bring them to the cloud, and to think if you are going to use infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service. Okay. Those are the options that we have and that you need to plan for. Now, as we said, here in Netcom, we have a couple of Microsoft official courses that you can take to know more about these solutions. Your first step is, of course, to take one of our webinars. We deliver some webinars where we discuss about Azure and other cloud strategies. So I invite you to take our webinars. After the webinars, well, maybe you can take one of these courses. The first one is the 10979. It's a 2-day course when we discuss all these options or all these features of Azure. It's not an overview, but it's not that technical. It's not that deep dive into the technical stuff, because it's only 2 days, so we don't have enough time to discuss everything in detail, but you will have a very good understanding on how to work with Azure. Once you have that basic or understanding or that baseline, the next step is, if you are a software developer, then I recommend you to go for the 2532 course. That is a 4-day course for software development in Azure. Okay, 4-day course, software development, everything in Azure. If you are not a software developer, but if you are an IT guy, an IT administrator, then the right option for you is the 2533. The 2533 is a 5-day course where we discuss in more detail each of the options of Microsoft Azure. Okay, so we discuss in more detail how to work with virtual machines, how to work with virtual networks, how to connect things using virtual networks. We even discuss automation, backups, and site recovery. So we have 5 days to discuss in very, very good detail all the Azure options that we have. Now, if you are an experienced guy, maybe if you are an IT architect, then you can take this 3-day course, that is the 4442, and this is for solutions architect. Okay, so this is a very good option to have a better understanding, not only on the technical things, but also on the implications on how to design your cloud strategy. Okay, so as I said, for example, if it is recommended to place my information in one region or in another, or if it is better to use express route or having a site-to-site connectivity, or if it's a good option to place everything in just one subscription, or having multiple subscriptions and divide the resource groups in multiple regions, etc. So this course, it's a very good option for solution architects. Okay, so with that said, that's the end of my presentation. I'm gonna switch back to Tracy. So I want to thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Julio. That was very informative, and we do want to remind our attendees, just as Julio was doing, that Netcom Learning does offer a comprehensive portfolio for Microsoft Azure training options, which you can see up on your screen. And team training can be customized and accelerated to meet your organization's specific needs as well. You can contact us today to be connected with one of our learning consultants to help you advise on your specific needs, and you can also email us at webinar@netcomlearning.com or search our catalog at netcomlearning.com as well. And we all know that technical skills are necessary to empower our careers, but do you need to improve or upgrade your leadership skills as well in order to accelerate your career? Along with your technical abilities, you can develop the skills you need to manage yourself, others, and business better. Welcome to Starter Learning, a collaborative knowledge platform bringing the world's best business and leadership insights from Fortune 1000 leaders, best-selling authors, and Ivy League professors. Further, if you are interested in learning from the top American leaders, you can log on to the e-learning platform at starterlearning.com and avail the special promotion meant for first-time users. You can use the coupon code SARTER10 and begin your leadership journey right now. And right now we are going to launch a quick poll to find out how many of you might be interested in taking some additional training. So please take a few moments to fill that quickly out before you all have to log off. In addition, we have a lot more informative webinars coming up. So please go to netcomlearning.com/webinars in order to register. And also don't forget to like and follow our social media pages to get the latest technology updates. You can refer to the GoToWebinar chat window for our links. Also, we now would like to get some final thoughts from Julio before we have to end today's session. So Julio, what do you think? How do you want to wrap this up?
Yes, thank you, Tracy. Yes, just to remind the attendees that how critical is to start thinking on the cloud. In the past, it was something that you may ignore because, again, some people, they don't trust the cloud. But today, everything is moving to the cloud. So I recommend you to start thinking and start planning for your cloud strategy. Otherwise, you are going to find some issues if you don't move fast. And again, you need to know and understand which one is the best solution for you. And there are many cloud solution providers out there. So all of them are good, but you need to understand which one offers the best option for you and which one is easier for you to migrate. That's all I have for today. I want to thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you in another webinar. Thank you, Tracy.
And thank you, Julio, and thank you all for joining us today. And if you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com, at any time. We do hope that you found today's webinar informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everyone.